Welcome to episode 94 Sport SA Daily Diary. Today we're chatting to world-renowned mountain bike announcer, Max Kleur. Evening, Max. How are you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, good. Hey guys, how's it going there? Nice to be chatting to you guys, and it's been a good day. You know, it's Thursday. We're going into the weekend. Groundhog Day is not as bad as it used to be, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's life's completely changed. There's not really a weekend or a weekday anymore. It's just all every day.
They just run into one another, you know, and we've got the kids at home as well, so it's just all hands on deck, you know. So it's cool. It's cool. I'm enjoying it. It's nice not to be traveling so much because normally I'm spending in excess of 200 days a year overseas. So it's just really grand to be home and spending time with the family, to be honest.
Yeah, and we'll get to your traveling and the reason why you're overseas all the time. Obviously, you're involved in sport. You work in sport. You're passionate about sport. Has sport always been a passion point for you, right from early days of growing up?
Yeah, ever since I was a youngster, I was brought up in Zimbabwe, and from day zero, I always remember myself either on a bicycle or throwing a ball around with my dad and my brother, or swimming. So it's just genetically built in, not necessarily at a competitive stage early on, but certainly just being outdoors and enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah, and obviously at school you played sport, I presume.
Yeah, very competitive. Enjoyed my sport. I finished school at Maritzburg College. Played a lot of hockey, a lot of tennis, swimming, water polo, a bit of golf, and a lot of touch rugby on the fields at the bottom as well, which was a lot of fun.
And then obviously you're in sport now, but how did you get into sport post school? Obviously you finished playing. What sort of career direction did you take to get involved in sport?
Yeah, so just love sport from the get-go, and was lucky enough to represent my province in a couple of different sporting codes. I excelled mostly in the water. I really did well in my swimming and my water polo, and then got into the senior level and then played provincial in that space as well, and represented South Africa in that space. And from there it was just all about trying to keep it pinned and enjoy what I was doing while trying to find a life for myself. I studied land surveying after school, so qualified as a land surveyor, believe it or not. Never used it a day in my life, to be honest, because as I qualified, GPS came out, and everything that I'd learned, first principles and theodolites and total stations, it just went up in a ball of smoke, and everything just said, okay, well, just push this button, and there's your 4-year degree. Here's your coordinate. Go,
Yeah.
So yeah, got involved in sport and just kept on doing what I was doing. I did a bit of camel trophy type stuff and a bit of adventure racing, raced all over the world doing that. And then found myself back in South Africa in 2003, looking for something to do, and just found a niche in the sports eventing game. Started putting on small little events, using my background and my knowledge in sport. And then picked up a microphone for the first time in 2006 and started chatting and talking and then just slowly grew from there.
And we'll come back to your commentating. Take us back to the days of representing South Africa. I mean, that must have been a special moment for you.
Yeah, for me, I was born in the water. My folks just, we lived in the swimming pool, and I excelled at breaststroke. I did the 200-meter breaststroke, the 100-meter breaststroke. Those were my disciplines. Obviously did all the other strokes as well, and then a lot of water polo. Water polo was just so much fun in those days, and we really just enjoyed throwing the ball around. But that was the swimming mainly where I excelled.
Okay, and then onto your commentating, Max. Are you a natural talker? Because for someone to actually get up in front of thousands of people, you have to be pretty comfortable within yourself just to sort of ramble on and talk. Nothing, but you need to be comfortable with who you are.
Yeah, I think you've got to be comfortable in your own skin. You've got to be happy with the man in the mirror, and you've got to be able to not worry about the naysayers. You've got to focus on what you're trying to do. It's not about you. It's not about the ego. You're the voice that's bringing across the messaging that needs to be brought across in that specific moment in time. So whether it's at an event, whether it's hosting, whether it's as an MC, whether it's as a fines master at a fines meeting, whatever it is, there's just that time where you've got to focus. Someone needs to be coordinating things and making things happen, and I just turned out to be that guy.
And you're involved in various sports, but mostly mountain biking and sort of BMX in terms of UCI. Is that the majority of travel that you do in terms of those two sports?
So yeah, and I'm very fortunate, as I said, got into commentating and then started doing just, local events. Picked up on a couple of overseas and international events as well. Started doing a bit of extreme sport. Was very lucky to pick up Red Bull as a partner and a client. And they obviously have been very instrumental in the growth and the exposure that I've received through the eventing and the live show calling and commentating I've done with them on some of their big events around the world and also locally. And then from my side, on the UCI side, which is the governing body of the cycling worldwide, I did my first World Cup event for them in Pietermaritzburg in my hometown at that time in 2009. My first World Championships were done in 2010. And since then, it's been 10, 11 years that I've been working with them across pretty much all the sporting codes, but specializing in the off-road. For me, the road cycling is very niche. It's very specific, and there's a lot of people doing it. And what I tried to do is focus on the off-road and focus on the sporting codes within the off-road and grow with those, with new sporting codes in off-road coming all the time. Pump track is now new. E-cycling's become a big new thing as well. Urban sports like the BMX freestyle, BMX flatland, trials and all that sort of thing. So I've worked my way through that portfolio, and I mean, we're working it out the other day. I think I've done over 150 World Cup, World Championship or higher events for the UCI over the last 10 years. So it's been crazy, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's let me travel and just live my passion, which has been amazing.
Yeah, no, sure, absolutely. And Max, I mean, you must need to do quite a bit of research in terms of getting to these events. You need to know who all the competitors are, and you need to obviously know a bit of detail behind them. It's not as if you can just get on the microphone and talk a load of rubbish.
Yeah, look, I call it the old days. Back in the old days, it was a lot more difficult. There's a very big difference between a broadcast commentator, someone who's sitting in a booth or wherever that studio is. They're getting fed a lot of stuff all the time. They've got screens in front of them. So there's the broadcast side, and then there's the live side. So I specialize in the live side, what they call live show calling. So I'm working quite directly with the production team, with the broadcast, the outside broadcasting vehicles, the other commentators. I'm managing the expectation between the live show and what you're seeing on TV. Yeah. So the devil's in the details. A lot of people see you at the event and they see you on the day and they think, wow, that's amazing. But you're right, there's a lot of detail that goes into it. You've got to be very careful in the way you bring across, certain elements and certain details of events, especially when those events run into danger zones and danger areas. You've got to be able to communicate not only correctly to the athletes and the broadcasting side, but also to the public, especially if it's a big crowd event. So it's just a matter of managing the protocol, working with other like-minded professionals, and just learning as you go. For me, it's just been a life skill that I've learned. It's something that I've picked up on. It's not something that I could have studied or learned. It's just something that I've gained experience in through the time and through the details and through the people that I've worked with, to be honest.
And Max, do you have a favorite event or favorite country that you've sort of a World Cup that you've worked on to date where, I don't know, maybe the atmosphere is better than others or something's happened, or has there been a sort of wow moment? Well, I suppose there's been many wow moments, but.
Yeah. Look, I've been very lucky because, at the level that we work at, we're working on some incredible events in some incredible countries. We also have the sports marketing side where we've got our sports marketing company as well, which deals with a lot of the project management and sponsorships and experiences that we do. So for me, my first real big kickstart into anything at a global international level was working on the FIFA World Cup. We worked in Durban and PE and Bloemfontein on those stadiums and did some cool stuff there. On the commentating side, I would have to say working at home, in front of the home crowd is something cool because it's not something that I get to do. It's not something people see me do. I think the 2013 World Championships, the mountain bike World Championships in Pietermaritzburg, where Greg Middaugh came through to take his third World Championship win, was something super, super special in his backyard, in my backyard, in South Africa, against all odds. I mean, he just had such incredible pressure on him that year. That was a big moment. And then I think one of the highlights is probably got to be the London Olympics. London Olympics was just it was just smooth, man. It was so well organized.
Yeah.
They really just ticked so many boxes. The whole experience, the fan experience, the athlete experience, the broadcast experience was really incredible.
Was the plan for you to go out to Tokyo for 2020?
Yeah, so I did the test event there last year, actually in the middle of a massive typhoon, and we had 5.6 earthquakes on the Richter scale. I was in the 24th story of my hotel at like 10 in the morning. We had complete lockdown. The building started going crazy. So yeah, we did the test event. It was a 5-day test event, which was brought forward into 2 days, and then they just locked us down for 2.5 days before they sent us home. So it was crazy. But Tokyo is an incredible city. I've got to say, it's probably one of my favorite cities in the world. They were really just on point and really prepared for everything coming this year. And I'm sure that they'll be able to hold it together and hopefully bring us a very successful 2021 event.
I would imagine that when the Olympics does come around, 2021, whenever it is, that in Tokyo, it will be exceptionally well organized because, yeah, I mean, that part of the world is known for their smooth operating.
Yeah, there's no compromise, working with the team there, working with the broadcasting team. I get brought in by the IOC, the local organizing committee on the IOC on the broadcasting side. So I get employed by the Olympic Committee, and I don't get brought in by the UCI or anyone else. So you work right up with them in their face, passionate people, and as you say, just regimental in the way that they tick boxes. It's really impressive to see just how clinical they are.
Yeah. And Max, you haven't just done the 2 wheels. You've also done a bit of the Comrades Marathon.
Yeah, Comrades was something, obviously being brought up in Pietermaritzburg, finishing my school in Maritzburg. Just, Maritzburg was just such a vibe at one stage. You had the Comrades Marathon, you had the Amashova, you had the Doozy Canoe Marathon, you had the Midmar Mile, you just had all these incredible, epic one-day mass participation events, and we were right in the crux of it. So, at one stage, I think we'd worked on the Comrades Marathon in one way or another. I think my initial introduction to Comrades Marathon was back when Nick Bester brought me in to put seconding team together for the running team at that stage, which was the Harmony Gold team. So I've known Nick for absolute years, and he's an absolute taskmaster. And for me, I was this youngster, and hey Max, you need to organize me these guys. They need to be in this place at this time. You know what Nick Bester's like. So that was my first introduction, and from there, we just got to work with a lot of the partners who would bring us in on the activation side, and then eventually I got to start commentating on the event. So yeah, Comrades is an institution, man. It's I see they're doing some cool stuff leading into, I think, the next weekend or the week after, just to put something together virtually, which is quite exciting, and hopefully have some sort of representation of the race this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great pity that it's been cancelled, but obviously there's no choice. Max, you've obviously met a lot of people throughout your career, a lot of influential people, a lot of high-profile people. Has there been anyone that's stood out for you as like, wow, I actually can't believe I met that person? And you can't say Madiba because he's everyone's answer, and he is obviously at the top of everyone's list. So besides Madiba.
So look, I think it's different strokes for different folks. I think, it's like anything. Once you get introduced to a certain level and it becomes the norm, you're not as infatuated or as influenced by it. So for me, I really connect with people who are just down to earth. I really connect with people, and a lot of guys and girls, especially the sportsmen and women at that level, are really just down to earth. And we spoke a bit about Greg Minnaar earlier. I mean, I've known Greg since 20 years, over 20 years. And he's always just been someone that's sort of, in a way, tick boxes in my career path journey where, I've been there. Some of the big moments that I've worked at, he's always been there. So he's someone that's just been a really good mate, and someone that I've always just been very impressed with in just his humility and his ability to be able to contribute and just, be great. He just really is a down to earth guy. I think, obviously I've got to interview a lot of really kick-ass athletes and in both, the sporting world and in the lifestyle environment. A lot of the time we work on live shows, or we're putting together, I'm going in to put on bring a team of commentators and DJs together to influence or work on an event or whatever it is. And there we bring with, if you're working with 9, a lot of their DJs and that sort of thing. So for me, I don't think there's anyone specific that I've gone and said, wow, it's totally starstruck. But having worked with some kick-ass people, I think for me, it's the guys that are really making a difference and not standing up and saying, hey, look what I did. I think those are the people that really, the guys and girls that really have influenced me and have really helped me in my career and how I manage, those sort of situations. Because sometimes the situation is big. When you're at the Olympic Games and you interview Mara Stromberg after he's just won the very first Olympic gold medal in bicycle motocross, or, it's a big deal. And the biggest thing as a commentator or an MC, as a host, is it's not about you, and this is something that is just so critical. It's their moment, it's their time to shine, it's their achievement, it's not yours. And I think that's something that you've just always got to remember in that space.
And Max, this time of COVID, obviously, all of us in sport have taken a bit of a whack. Commentators, photographers, event managers, sportsmen themselves. It's been a hard time. You haven't essentially let that hold you down, though. You've developed quite a unique concept that you've been working on the last few weeks. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so Adam, I mean, for us, it was, after the speech on the 16th of March from the president here in South Africa, it was just, we're going to be the last people coming out of this space, and we don't know when that's going to be. And initially it was like, okay, well, what do we do? Luckily, being able to work internationally and have some really good clients, a lot of those retainers and a lot of those contracts have stayed in place. A lot of them locally haven't, because people are just totally shut down, and as expected, you just can't expect people to pay you if, one, they're not getting income, and two, they don't have the money. So I think what I've found that's been really cool during this time is the fact that people are willing to help, and people are willing to listen, and people are willing to share, and people are willing to give advice in a place when you need it. I'm lucky that I'd been involved a bit on the gaming side and the esports side with the gaming side, and I had a bit of background on that because I've done some commentating in that space. And obviously there are a whole lot of different virtual platforms out there where people are able to compete and go and take part in their daily run or their daily row or their daily ride or whatever it is a virtual cycling platform. And the ability to then go onto that platform and create events and create meetups with different riders, different people, and put something together was something that I'd thought about, but I just never had the time. We would just, in my game, I work 47 weekends a year. I roll from one event to the next. I've got a 72-hour memory where I can really focus hard on that client or that event, and then I've got to get the event done, and then I've got to debrief, and then I've got to switch that off, and I've got to go straight into the next week. So for me, it was something that I've always looked at. I'd seen the growth. It's not like it hasn't been around for a long time. And I'd seen how people were starting to benefit from the platform during this time. They weren't allowed outside. They weren't allowed to train. A lot of the coaches out there and a lot of the big training squads, especially when you look at, the triathlon side of things and a lot of the road riding guys, their coaches were saying, well, what do we do? How do we do this? And they then obviously push their guys onto Zwift. It's a super controlled environment. It's your pain cave, is your area where you're training or riding or running on the treadmill. It's in your garage. It's in one of your rooms or whatever it is. And the ability to then be able to link tech to that and technology into that space and be able to talk to other people, be able to feed back to your coaches through platforms like Training Peaks, etc., is something which is really cool. And in the past, that platform was like, I've got to do an indoor session. I don't really like an indoor session. I'd much rather be out there, because as South Africans, we love being outdoors. We love the adventure. We like the wind in our face. And now, in an environment where we're forced to do that, we found that the people on the bikes and on the treadmills were becoming more and more familiar with the platform and the gaming experience of the platform, creating the avatars, understanding the technology better, being able to do a same session 2, 3, 4 times in a week and be able to look at their power and manage their power off that. Their coaches then being able to take that information and analyze it and then feed back to them the next day and then bring that across their squads. So what we were finding is that people were actually starting to embrace it. And we then created a platform called the Premier League, which was a virtual Zwift racing platform, which was partnered with a guy called Emmanuel Sequeira from Ace Cycles. And the first event that they did was 32 people, 4 teams of 8, at the end of, I think, of March. I was then, saw what was going on, wondering what was going on, and I was then brought in as an opportunity to commentate on one of those platforms. And just my experience with live streaming in the past in South Africa, it hasn't been great. There's not a lot of attention that goes into the detail with regards to content. Content is king when you go into live streaming. So, and I just thought that was a bit lacking, and there was just too many errors, and there were too many unknown factors, and everyone was always making the excuse, but they actually weren't improving the platform. So I thought to myself, well, let's do this. Let's give it a go. I've got the time. I've got the people. We know the people. We've got guys also looking for work in the space, fellow commentators, broadcast guys and girls, event coordinators. Let's do this, but let's do it properly. And basically, 5 weeks later, we're sitting on 650 odd athletes, nearly 80 teams. It's Tuesday morning, every Tuesday morning, and these guys are going at it. We've created a whole monetizing platform off it now, and it's part of sponsor for us. We're able to bring in Premier League loyalty partners. We're able to drive traffic and sales to the websites of some of our partners, which has been absolutely incredible. And first race of the Ace Cycles Winter Series was Tuesday, and we do a post-race wrap up on the Wednesday evening. There's highlights videos that goes out. There's funnies packages that goes out. There's we're even creating virtual goodie bags, where the guys can go and, now working with guys like Seattle Coffee, working with Socks Footwear, working with guys like Bicycle, working with guys like Skull Candy, we're able to go and say, okay, well, go onto their websites, use this code, and get yourself a 20% discount courtesy of the Premier League. So what we're able to do now is show a deliverable and show sales to these partners, and that's basically creating some drive and some form of income for them during this time when they're all at a loss for what do we do. We're in sport, we're in eventing, we've got sponsorship money, or not, but hell, we're willing to give this a go, and we've been very grateful.
Yeah. And Max, do you think this is just the start of the e-gaming, esports sort of live realm via the web that we're looking at? Because obviously this COVID-19 is going to happen for a while. We're going to be in this state for a while. But do you think this is actually a launching platform of something that's going to be bigger and last longer than just come close of COVID?
Adam, so yes, I do, and I'm quite passionate about it as well, because I've literally become a fan of the environment. I've always been an outdoorsy person. I've always been that person that wants to feel the wind in my face and get out there on my mountain bike. But I've become a big fan of the platform, the way that you can literally go and customize your avatar, the way that you can create a meetup, you can ride in your room, in your garage, you can connect by Discord and your earbuds to your 6 or 7 or 8 mates that you're riding with. In winter here, specifically in Johannesburg, I mean, we've got really good weather here in South Africa, obviously, but in Johannesburg, it gets really cold. I'm sitting here inside now, it's probably 4 or 5 degrees outside if we're lucky, and it's only light at 7 in the morning. So the guys that are getting up in the morning at 4:30 to meet for a 5 o'clock ride, putting on 4 or 5 layers of clothing, making sure their lights are working, making sure they're not knocked over by a taxi in the middle of the night, and then still trying to get back, shower, and go to work by 8 o'clock. It makes it difficult. Whereas, if you can put in a hard online session, your coach can set up a really good 45-minute to 90-minute session for you. You're out of bed, you're in the shower, you're on your bike, your session's done, you get to spend time with the kids in the morning, have breakfast with them, kiss the wife goodbye or whatever it is, and get off to work and have a really good session in without having to actually go through the admin of that sort of hour to an hour and 10, 20 minutes where you're having to drive, get the equipment ready, etc., etc., etc. So there's definitely a place for it, and we're finding that it's like any athlete. If you speak to any of the top athletes, they all have those sessions when they're on their own. They all have those sessions where they really need to put down the numbers. They need to put down the watts. People don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and those are the sessions that count. And if they can really measure those sessions, because once you go outside, you're in an environment where weather affects it, terrain affects it, all that sort of stuff. If you can do and measure yourself against a certain, why do you think Time Trials was so successful? on a Tuesday your running time trial with your running club was because it was same route, same distance, same time every week. It created a pattern. And I think that's what we're finding with the Tuesday racing is everyone knows, hey, Tuesday morning, we know it's going to be an hour of hard graft. We're going to fall on the floor in a sweat pool of what's afterwards. But we're going to know that we've worked ourselves over and go into the day and have a lot of fun. And you know what? The weekend's coming and we're going to go and do our long group rides with our mates anyway. So yeah, I think it's here to stay. I think it's exciting. I think it's an opportunity for sport and for brands to leverage and get involved. And I think it's here to stay. It's easy. It's connectable. Everyone's on their devices all the time anyway. The data is available, and it's providing a release, from the everyday grind, which I think is also quite cool.
And do you think it can go further than just the cycling? I mean, you'd say you've a lot of your participants are triathletes. Is there scope to get onto the running side and even the swimming side?
Yeah, absolutely. So anything where you can pretty much put what's together and pick up what's via a Bluetooth system is possible. So on the Zwift platform, rowing is a big thing. As you know, there's a big rowing culture in South Africa. We've got some of the best rowers in the world. Running is a big one. What's nice about the Zwift platform is, that they create these Watopia worlds where you basically go and take place. So they're not real worlds, they're virtual worlds. And you can do trail running, you can do road running, you can do mountain biking, you can do road riding. So it's quite exciting in the way that you can adapt the look and feel to what you need to do. And the ability to be able to put on this type of event is quite cool in that I think corporates will start embracing it more. I think you'll see opportunities where studio type scenarios get set up where corporates will go and challenge each other to raise funds for charity, as an example. I think there's a big part of the sporting community which we are really missing out on during this time is the charitable causes. The charitable causes rely really heavily on events to take place to raise funds for their charities and to give their charities a bit of time in the limelight and to make a difference. And without these events, I mean, you look at the MOBDBD and those causes with Comrades have got some incredible charities. So what happens to that this year? So I think that also is an opportunity, and there are a lot of brands out there who want to make a difference, who can make a difference, but don't have the platform to do so. And I certainly see that this type of live streaming, live broadcasting in this virtual world and environment really does tick a lot of boxes for those people.
And Max, just in closing, do you think this is a possible new direction for yourself as well? You mentioned earlier that you'd obviously been on the road for 200 or more days of the year. You've got young kids, you have a wife. Obviously, it's got to take a strain. Do you think this is a new direction for you? Possibly that this might take you away from the UCI events to doing this more on a full-time basis?
So yeah, for me, I'm a person that likes to challenge myself. I'm a person that likes to put myself into that uncomfortable zone where you need to push through and make things happen. I've always said to my wife and my family, whenever I stop enjoying what I'm doing, then I'm going to stop doing it. For now, I've got some incredible relationships. I've got some incredible clients. I still love the traveling. I still love that environment, the connecting and influencing and the partnerships and those sort of things that come with it. But what's really nice about this virtual world is that I don't have to get to that event 3 days early. I don't have to do all of these pre-media press conferences. I don't have to do all the traveling, and I can do everything online. I can do the preparing when I want in my own time. I don't have a start or a finish line. I don't have to put up marquees. I don't have to bring in VIP, catering solutions and VIP experiences. So the time that I spend on doing it is nowhere near what I'm spending in the live environment, and it's very focused. So we're able to go, with the Premier League as it is at the moment, we're able to plug and play a new client within 24 hours. You know what I mean? As long as we have the mechanisms in place, as long as the client understands what we're trying to do, we create the design elements for the squeeze backs, we create the mechanisms for the sales, and we push play. That's how much simpler it is. So I think this will be something that I can carry on doing. I'd love to be able to be more involved in the training and the mentoring of hosts and commentators and broadcasting teams that put this sort of thing together. No matter where I am in the world, I can go and commentate on a race like this. I just need, these races aren't long. It's not like we're going to 3-day mountain bike stage race where you're there a day and a half before, you're racing for 3 days, you're there for a day after doing brief, and you're flying home. The Zwift races, none of them are longer than, nothing with impact is longer than 30 minutes to 90 minutes. That's all you need to get the impact, to get the exposure, to get the guys going. And you can tune in from anywhere in the world. I mean, we on the Premier League at the moment, I think we've got 8 or 9% of our database is tuned in from around the world. So we're able to have riders from all over the world come and join the teams and race, and we're all on one platform. It's just literally a global community, and I think that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah, well, let's just hope it grows from strength to strength. Max, it's been brilliant chatting to you today on Sport SA Daily Diary. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Good luck with the Premier League, and we'll certainly share the links when we share this interview live.
Cheers, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. I've loved watching all the interviews that you've been doing on the Daily Diaries, and it really has kept us informed on what guys are up to and what people are going through during this crazy time. So keep doing what you guys are doing. You are making a difference, and I'm certainly going to continue listening. So awesome. Keep it up.
Thanks, Max. Take care. Catch tomorrow's episode of Sport SA Daily Diary, where we chat to ex-South African squash player and co-founder of the Joburg to See,